Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. I am so excited to have you here today. As you know, we are currently going through our first year teacher series where I am interviewing first year teachers so that they can share all about the amazing things that they are doing inside their classroom. If you haven't done so already, feel free to go to the link down below. You can grab my 10 tips for first year teachers, and that'll just get you started if you're feeling a little lost. Okay, I can't wait to see you inside the show.
Welcome to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. Whether you're a first-year teacher, veteran teacher, or just a mom trying to gain some new insights, you are right where you are meant to be. Kayla Durkin, founder of the Blossoming Teacher course, is passionate about helping new teachers blossom into the teacher they were born to be. Kayla wants to help inspire teachers to be their best self, whether that means sharing about personal or professional development, self-care, or the latest and most effective teaching strategies. Through this podcast, you will hear from real teachers sharing their stories about teaching, all with one main goal in mind: to be able to make an impact and help other teachers blossom. And with that, here is your host, Kayla Durkin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for being here. Today, I have someone here who is seriously the most special teacher. Her name is Bailey. If you haven't seen her on Instagram yet, her Instagram is Friends with Fourth Graders, and you are definitely going to want to follow her. She has such an amazing story that she's going to share with you today, and I know you're going to be leaving feeling like you can take on the world with all of her amazing tips. So, without further ado, here is Bailey. Hey, Bailey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. How's your day going?
Pretty good. It's almost Friday, so.
Yes, one more day. Well, for the
Yes.
people who are listening to this, we're recording it early, but when you listen to it, it'll only be 2 more days till Friday. So, Bailey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So this is my first year teaching, obviously. I live in Florida, born and raised in Florida. I teach at a private Christian school. I teach fourth grade, which is not what I had imagined myself teaching, but it was the job that was open for me, and it's turned out to be like the best grade. But I don't really have like hobbies. Everyone's like, "What are your hobbies?" I'm like, I just like don't even like hang it out. I just like to be with people. So that's really like life is teaching in like the best way possible, not in like a bad way. So that's really the most about me.
I absolutely love that. I think that's so funny. And just hanging out with people is definitely a hobby in itself.
Right? Okay.
So I have
Thank you.
2 questions for you right away.
Okay.
Since you said you didn't necessarily want to start with fourth grade, what grade were you hoping for?
So everyone that I'd like talked to says like second and third grade are the sweet spots. And so since I'm a younger teacher, I kind of wanted a younger grade, not kindergarten. That's like a special person. That is not me to teach kindergarten. But like second grade, I think is what was ideal for me. Fourth grade, I just felt like they were just like so old. I was like, they're going to think that I'm like their age in fourth grade. So second grade, third grade was kind of the highest I wanted to go.
Okay, I can totally understand that. So I did teach fourth grade for 2 years, and I just remember my students always comparing their height to my height, saying, I was Miss Owens at the time. They're like, Miss Owens, I'm taller than you. Yeah, I know. Okay, it's fine.
That's so funny.
So fourth graders are pretty fun, but my big thing here that I first want to address is you don't have a teaching degree.
I do not. No.
So tell us about that.
Yeah. So it's honestly now being the first 9 weeks into the school year, I would 100% tell anybody who wants to like knows that they want to pursue a career in education to get a degree in education. So I have wanted to be a teacher since like as long as I can remember. If you ask anyone in my family, like from the time I was 5 years old, when people asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, it's always been a teacher. It's never changed, like ever. And so when I was graduating high school and deciding what I wanted to do for college, I was talking to a bunch of different educators, and like every educator that I talked to told me, don't get your degree in education, don't get your degree in education. And so I was like, okay, I guess I shouldn't get my degree in education. People were like, oh, like the industry is just like always changing. You know, you don't get paid a lot if you ever decide you need more money. Like a degree in education is so specific that if you want to do something else, it's not really like transferable, but a degree in something else is. And so in the state of Florida, I'm not sure, I don't think every state's like this, but you just have to have a bachelor's degree and then your teaching license to teach. So you don't have to actually have a degree in education. You just have to have a bachelor's and take all your tests. So that's what I did. I did my degree completely online in supervision and management, and then graduated a year before I got my first job. But like I said, I can definitely feel the weight and the pressure of not going to college for education. And like, I already am like, I think I'm going to go back to school and get my master's in education just because I can tell how valuable that piece of education to educate kids is.
I think that's honestly mind-blowing. First of all, how did you even know what to study for your tests? How do you know how to be a teacher?
I don't. I just find I'm seat in my pants, honestly. And I ask a lot of questions. I've had to like humble myself, and I'm an Enneagram 2. And if you know anything about Enneagram 2s, they hate to ask for help. They want to be the helpers. And so when my headmaster hired me, she said to me as we were walking through her office for me to sign my contract, she was like, as long as you're not afraid to ask questions, you will succeed. And I was like, well, I'm going to fail because that is like the opposite of what I love to do. But I just like really humbled myself and like accepted that I don't know what I'm doing. And that's okay because right next door is someone who does know what she's doing. And she's like so willing to help me with anything that I need. And so I can only benefit asking questions.
That is just seriously so crazy. So when you were getting ready to do your interview, getting ready for all of this, I think we forgot to say this, but you never student taught, correct?
Yeah, no, I had not.
Seriously, you guys, like, was your first day in the classroom your first day in the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, I had volunteered. So I took like electives in college and education courses, but it's not the same. So I had volunteered, but I just like helped like cut stencils out of things, and like I didn't actually like observe and like learn to lesson plan and learn to teach or anything like that. So I knew nothing.
Gosh, Bailey. So where do you get a lot of your inspiration from? Do you feel like you get a lot of it from Instagram or Pinterest, or like what's your go-to?
Yeah, so this summer I was a nanny, and so I was a baby, and babies sleep a lot, and so I had 3 hours during the time that I nannied to not really do anything, and they didn't want me to clean or anything. They were like, oh, just hang out, do whatever you want. And so I was like a YouTube crazy person this summer, just watching every YouTube like teacher channel that I could, taking notes, like adding things to my Amazon wish list, like creating documents, just anything that I could find. And then I decided to make my teacher Instagram, and then it has like, I don't even know if I would know how to do some of the things without it. Like I get so many ideas and just motivation and inspiration just from following other teachers. It's the best.
Well, I know your Instagram's going to blow up because you're seriously such the coolest teacher already, even though you're only 3 months in. Like, did you start in August?
No, so we actually didn't start till September 8th. So I'm literally less than 2 months into it.
Oh my goodness. But you are face-to-face, right?
Yes, we are. I have 4 virtual, but 21 in person. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you balance that?
Yeah.
Guys, if you're just
are any of us balancing it?
Bailey's face right now.
It's like I'm balancing it, but like one definitely weighs more than the other. Like for example, we had a fire drill yesterday, and I didn't know that we had a fire drill, so the fire alarm goes off, and I'm just like instant panic because I wasn't expecting it. And I like get my kids out of the classroom. We go downstairs. I take like roll. I give them thumbs up that I have everyone. They tell us to go back inside. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell my kids on Zoom that we were leaving the classroom. Like clearly they heard the fire alarm and knew, and they're going to be okay. They're at home. But I was like, my brain was I have 21 kids in front of me that I have to keep safe. And I think that's the hardest part to balance, of like remembering, oh, there's 4 kids on Zoom right now that I should be like, that I need to be like engaging and interacting with. But I'm like, but there's 21 that I'm responsible for like their safety and their life right now. And so that's the hardest part to balance, is like, my brain is there's 21 real people in front of you. The other 4 have mom and dad at home that can help them if something goes wrong. And so that's why I would say I don't I don't know if I could tell you I'm equally balancing it, but I'm figuring it out. And my parents, like, of my students give me so much grace and like are super helpful and involved in their kids' education. So it's not like the kids are like sitting there at home like, well, I don't know. Like the parents are really involved and helpful and like communicating with me. And so that definitely helps like carry the weight of them not being in person.
That's so amazing to hear. So when you're teaching, are they completely following along on your lessons? Are you pre-recording anything? How are you managing that aspect of it?
Yeah, so they log in at 8 when the school day starts, and then they are on until 11. Then we go to recess and lunch, and they can log off then. Then they come back at 12:15 until the end of the day at 2:30. And so I just kind of like move the iPad so it can see the board if I'm doing something on the board and things like that. They kind of sit like next to me. Oh, people can't really see me, but they sit like next to me. And so that helps too, that they're kind of like, that they're there. So when I'm reading something, if they move, I'm like, oh yeah, there's kids right there and I can engage them in the lesson.
So I can't fully relate to your situation because I don't have 21 fourth graders. But just last week I was doing a training and we did have a couple people on the computer and I'm like walking around talking to them and then doing the interaction and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot the computer over there. Hold on, let me go get you.
Yeah, we're all start like walking around talking and then someone's like, I can't hear you. Oh yeah, I'm across the other side of the classroom.
Oh my gosh, such crazy times. Well, I'm glad that you're balancing it in a sense that it's working for you. I know you're just trying to figure it out, but I think you're doing an awesome job. So tell me a little bit about the group of kiddos you have.
So I have an amazing group of kids. I think when people hear private school, it's kind of like their head automatically goes to a certain type of kid. And my kids are not those kids, which I'm grateful for because my heart behind being a teacher is I wanted to be able to like show love to the kids that don't necessarily get it at home. So I think it's 85% of the kids on my school are actually on scholarships. And so it's not like just a typical private school, how you would think of it. And so there's a few, of course, but for the most part, I have a normal, so to say, group of kids, and a group of kids that love to talk. So when I got my class roster this summer, it was like immediately like, oh, this kid, oh, you're going to need to do this. Oh, you're going to need to do this for this kid and for that kid. And I almost felt like I was like getting scared of 9 and 10-year-olds but everything was just consistently was like, they just love to talk. They just love to talk. They just love to talk. And so, and that's where I was like, okay, classroom management is what's the difference between a class that loves to talk and is out of control and a class that loves to talk that a teacher still has like a hold onto her group of kids.
Yeah.
And so not student teaching and not learning like classroom management strategies, I immediately jumped to the internet and I'm like Googling every classroom management strategy I can think of. But also like was reminding myself every day, like I want a second chance every day that I wake up, and these kids haven't been in school in 6 months. And so what these teachers know about these kids from March is so different than the kids that they are now. And so it wouldn't be fair for me to go in thinking like, oh, this is going to be such a tough class, when them loving to talk isn't a problem. I love to talk. Like I could talk all day long if someone let me. It's probably part of why I love to be a teacher, because people just have to listen to me all day long. And so first day of school, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how I can get this under control, but also how can I teach them that their voice matters and I want to hear what they have to say, but we have to learn that there's appropriate times to speak and appropriate times to not speak. So even just today, honestly, it's like this week we have Spirit Week, and so it's kind of like they're just like out of it and not in their normal routine, and so many of them calling out. And so I stopped in the middle of our math lesson today and I was like, okay, if you were playing at recess and in the middle of a conversation and I just walked up and started talking to the person that you were talking to and completely disregarded you, like, how would that make you feel? And they all kind of just like stopped and stared at me. And I was like, I don't want you to just listen to me because I think I'm the boss of you and because I'm your teacher. It's a common courtesy and a respect to not talk when somebody else is talking. Like, you don't talk during a movie for the same reason. You don't talk during like a play or church for the same reason. My parents taught me to put my hand on their back when I wanted to talk to them when I was a kid and they were talking to somebody else, because you just don't interrupt when someone else is talking. And so when I'm not talking or I'm not teaching, if you sit at your seat with your hand raised, like, I'm going to call on you and I'm going to hear what you have to say. And so trying to just flip it back to teach them life lessons rather than just being like, stop talking, be quiet, sit down, raise your hand, like, and that still happens. I'm not like this like fairy godmother teacher or anything, but trying to remind them, if not daily, but weekly, why do we need to wait our turn to talk? How is that respectful to other people? How does that show that we care about what someone else has to say, not just about what I have to say? And just really being able to teach them to be good people through this they talk too much kind of idea.
So I think we had the exact same fourth grade class. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. Before I even started, everyone told me all those things. And now thinking back on it, I wish they wouldn't, have said all of that. But seriously, it was such a struggle every single day. And I love how you said that you want to give them opportunities. You want that fresh start every single day. And just how you said you want them to be good people. I always told my fourth graders whenever we had conversations like that, I would say, you guys, the people you practice is the person you become. Like, who you're being right now, that's who you're going to be forever if you keep practicing that. But if you practice being kind and waiting and being a good friend, like, then you're going to become those things too. So
I love that.
I think we had the same class, Bailey, and I don't know, maybe they just had to drop back a couple grades and they're back in fourth grade right now. But seriously, I'm so thankful that your students have you, because you're giving them such love and such grace, and you're nurturing them through the process instead of just, we all know of the teacher who's just like, nope, you're going to be quiet. Nope, it's not going to be like that. And you're obviously not that person. And I think that's so amazing and so special.
Yeah, that's what I had, those teachers. And so I don't know if you've like seen the meme that's going around. It's like, don't say you were never taught that in school. It's just that you were talking too much. And it's like, that was me, because I really was that kid. But it was never because I wanted to be bad or because I wanted to break the rules. Like, I just had so much that I wanted to say. And like, I was always the one who's like, oh, I don't have any gifts. I'm not good at anything. I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. I can't do sports. I'm horrible at all those things. Like, and I learned as I got older, and a teacher brought it out of me that I am amazing at writing and at speaking. I've done public speaking competitions. Like, that is like what I'm good at. People are like, oh yeah, I can sing. I'm like, oh, I can speak. I could stand in front of a group of people like confidently and own it. Like, that's what I'm good at. And so in elementary school, the teachers were like, sit down, be quiet, don't talk, blah, blah, blah. And then in middle school, teachers like, hey, I see that. And she told me, she's like, you're going to do this public speaking competition. And I said, you are out of your mind. No, I'm not. And she pushed me and I did it. And I won second in the state in the 7th grade at a public speaking competition, because it's what I love to do. But I just needed somebody that showed me that I was good at something rather than just trying to minimize the one thing that I did feel like I was good at. And so I have like amazing teachers that have like made me the teacher that I am. It like made me cry. My first week of school, my 3rd grade and 4th grade teachers sent me flowers to my school. Like, the week before my first day of school, my 4th grade teacher called me and was like, come over, I have all these things I want to give you, because they built relationships with me. My 7th grade teacher, like, today a Facebook memory came up, like, we've known each other for 11 years now. Like, I've gone to visit her family because there was the teachers who just were over it and didn't want to hear the kids talking. And then the few teachers that were like, no, I see that you're good at something. And while it might be difficult for me when I'm in charge of 25 kids, like, I know that there's something special in you. And it is hard with some of my kids, like some of them are just like over the top. And it's really a struggle some days to remind myself that, like, you were that kid, like, show them grace, like, keep pressing, like, you're going to make it through this day. Cause some days it's like, oh my goodness, I'm good. I think I said it today to my TA. I was like, I'm going to lose it.
Oh, that is so amazing. That's so cool that you still have those relationships with your teachers. So what are you doing to build those kind of relationships with your students?
Yeah. One of my friends that I actually met from teacher Instagram, we haven't even met in person yet. She had reached out to me on Instagram, and we scheduled a time to talk on the phone. And she teaches fifth grade, and so I had told her that I was nervous about teaching upper elementary, and she was like, "You're gonna love it." And she's a young teacher too, and I was like, "I'm just nervous because I'm young." And she's like, "Let's talk on the phone. Like, I want to like help you with this." And I was like, "Thank you," because that was my biggest thing. Like being young, I'm 22. Like I am baby. Sometimes I'm like, who's letting me teach these kids? I am a kid, but remind myself that I have an education. Like I can do it. I'm doing a good job at it. But she was like, she told me, she said, "I've never had crazy behavior issues." And that comes from someone who works at a school designed for kids with behavior issues. And I was like, how? Like, please tell me more, like leaning in. And she said, "I just take 2 minutes for each kid, and I just let them talk, and I write down things that they tell me, and I remember them, and I ask them questions." She's like, "I just like 2 minutes, you give them 2 minutes of your undivided attention, and they feel like you've given them the world." And so that's what I did. I have a journal that sits on my desk, and when a kid tells me something, I write it down. If they give me something, I put it in there, and they know there's a special spot that things that they write me or color me go, because I care about it and I want to keep it safe. And we eat lunch in our classroom, so I let someone pull up a chair and eat next to me, and I'll just talk to them. And at recess, I have a group of girls that don't even want to play. They just ask me about my life. They're like, "What'd you and your boyfriend do last night? Where are you going this weekend?" And they want to know what's going on in my life because I've chosen to share things with them. And obviously that comes with margin. I'm not going to tell them like every detail of my life. But when I'm having a little bit of a tough day, I'm like, "Miss Knowles is really tired today too. Like I get that you're tired, but I'm choosing to show up and to be here for you. So I know you're tired, but let's show up and be there for each other." And so I just have tried to find a balance of authenticity with my students and letting them in on my life just a little bit. And it makes them feel like we are best friends. And I don't say this to like toot my own horn or anything, but one of the students that was known to be one of like the really talkative students, her mom has emailed me twice this school year saying like, "I don't know what's going on in your classroom, but my daughter is a different kid." Like she's like, "It helps me so much as a parent." And I'm like, I don't know what's going on in my classroom either. Like, but she's the one who wants to sit with me every day at lunch. She finishes her food quick so she can be the first one to sit with me. And it's just because I give her that time, that attention. And when I do need to get onto her, I look at her in the eye and I say, "I'm not going to let you act like this. I'm not going to let you make excuses for yourself, because you're not a successful person when you make excuses for yourself. You need to own up to what you did, and let's move on from it." And she respects me because I talk to her like a person. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I try to remember too, is like, someone told me a few years ago that kids are just adults in tiny bodies. Oh, yeah. They have feelings like adults do. They want to be treated like an adult. And so I just talk to them. And like when we're just like in lunchtime or recess mode, I talk to them like I would talk to my friends. And I think that it's just, I mean, this is just from my observation, because I'm like, 9 weeks into this thing. I don't even know exactly what I'm doing yet. But my kids respect me, and which is, you wouldn't think that they would, because some of them have siblings older than I am. Yeah. Because I'm so young. But I just treat them like people. And that sounds so simple, but I think we can get in our heads that like, "Oh, I'm the teacher. I'm in charge. I'm the boss." But it's like, no, I just want to kind of like be your friend.
Right. Like, yeah, exactly. I love that. So for anyone who's listening or watching this, if you're wondering, well, how does she find time for that? I also did that same strategy in fourth grade, and I used my Friday small group time. We all, I don't know if you guys who are listening, if you have small group time, we always had an hour for our reading small group. So I just took that hour every Friday, and I just asked those kids individually, "What are you doing? What do you want to chat about? What's going on?" And just like Bailey said, it's a very small amount of time, but to them, it's enough. It's enough for them to just like share their feelings, share what's on their heart, and just say, "Hey, either this is what I'm going through, or this is why I'm feeling so happy today." Because sometimes kids are chatty and wild and crazy because they're just so happy. And that's a beautiful thing that we need to embrace.
That's so good. Yeah. And like you were just saying, it reminded me too, when sometimes just a few minutes is enough for them. I have one student who's told me multiple times, she like comes up to me so upset. She's like, "Miss Knowles, I'm really sorry for talking so much. I don't get to talk at home. When I get home, my dad goes to bed because he works early and my mom's not home yet. And my brothers don't want to talk to me. And so I just go home and I can't talk. There's no one for me to talk to. So I just want to talk when I'm around my friends. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like she's not trying to disrespect me. She just literally doesn't like get to speak at home. And it's not because not like everything her parents are doing wrong. It's just their work schedules and the way her family is structured during this season is like different. And so she's someone that I have to like keep tabs on and like remember to check in and remember to give her a chance to speak. When she's raising her hand to answer a question, like I have to like make sure that I give her time, even if it's just answering a question, because literally her mouth just needs to move.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to be advocates for those students too. You have to be empathetic and just understand like they are real people, of course, because they're your little fourth grade babies, but they also have real lives outside of what happens inside the four walls of your classroom. And we have to try and respect that and understand what they're going through too. So I love that you're there for her and that you're giving her that opportunity to share what's on her heart. So this is crazy. I feel like our time is flying by so fast. I feel like
I know. I just like saw the time and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So let me try and pick out two important things. Let's talk about the activities you're hoping to do before we go. And then, of course, we'll just get into some advice. So what activities, when your COVID restrictions end, are you hoping to get to do with your fourth graders?
I said to my curriculum director today, I said, I cannot wait till these restrictions are lifted so I can just put their desks in groups. Their desks being in rows and like spaced-ish, because I don't have a huge classroom and I have a ton of kids, but like their desks being spaced apart and those shields on them just feel like a wall. I was like, I just can't wait for their desks to be in groups. I can't wait for them to just be able to collaborate and to talk, because the first time that I let them work in a pair this school year, my kids who struggle to get work done on time got work done with time to spare. And it really opened my eyes of like, sometimes them working with each other is a better teacher than I can be, again, because they just need to talk. Some of them sitting still and silent is just like, they're going to jump out of their skin that way.
And they can learn so much from each other too.
Yes. And how they like different strategies that different students use to do different things, and even just about life and as people, they absolutely learn from each other. So I can't wait for them to be in groups, and I can't wait to do like science experiments, because we just flip through all the pages in our science curriculum for experiments, because they're all hands-on, get with a partner, do this, do that. And
oh no, Bailey, we might have lost you for just a second. See if she comes back. Hope it's not my internet. Oh, you're back. Maybe. Oh, shoot.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know if it's my internet or your internet. Am I fuzzy, blurry, skipping?
I can hear you.
Okay, let's see. Oh, it's starting to kind of refocus. Don't worry, I can crop all this out.
Okay.
Okay, so you were just starting to say before you cut out the science experiments you want to do, if you want to start over with that.
Okay. So I'm also so excited to finally be able to do science experiments, because we just flip through the pages in the curriculum and my heart just like breaks a little bit, because science is I feel like it's only really fun when you get to like do hands-on. So I gave them a project this week to try to make them a little more interested in science, since we can't do any projects right now. And small group time too. I try to get it in, but it's just hard to really do much, because I would love for them to really collaborate, but it's like they have a desk shield, even at the table they bring the desk shield and they have their masks, and so really just collaboration. Like I'm just dying for them to be able to just work together and find value and asking people for help, because when I got a job as a professional adult, I had a hard time asking people for help, like peers for help. And so teach them that it's okay to ask the person next to you for help if you don't know what you're doing.
Definitely. I mean, of course, we want our students to learn the curriculum, but just the social emotional skills that happen too when they're working with each
Yeah.
other and doing collaborative projects, like you're saying, like that's so huge too. So
Yeah.
I love that. You super duper remind me of Maniacs in the Middle. Like you look like her, you have the same mannerisms as her, you like
I'm going to have to
like
follow her.
you don't even know who she is?
No.
Oh my gosh. It's totally
I'm
like
going to follow her as soon as we get off this podcast.
yes, when you start watching her videos, you're going to be like, we're the same human being. Except that
I
you
love
want
that.
to teach littles and she likes the middle schoolers. But that's
I
so funny.
love that.
Okay, we gotta go, Bailey. But before we do, I want to know what type of advice do you have for any current teachers or people who are going into student teaching? What do you want them to know?
Yeah. In the first weeks before school started, I felt like everybody was giving me their opinion every which way. I don't know if it's because I'm a first year teacher, because I'm a young teacher, a little bit of both, but I just felt like everywhere I looked, somebody was telling me how to do something. Not even necessarily just giving advice, telling me how to do something. And so then I was like, okay, well, this person said they do it this way, and this one said do it this way, and kind of just like, I don't know what the right way to do it is. And I had to remind myself that I don't have to do anything any way that somebody else does it. I just have to do it the way that works best for me to teach it the best that I can. And so for every subject, honestly, it looks a little different the way that I go about things, but take advice from other teachers, even if they present it in a way like you have to do it this way. And but listen to it, even if it's hard to for any reason. Listen to the advice and then think about how can I make this me, and how can I make this into something that my students will benefit from and that I can teach my best at? Because like I was saying before, they can sense your authenticity. They can sense when you are being fake. They can sense when you don't know what you're doing. They can sense when you are just trying to copy somebody else, especially as you get into the older ages. But even like kindergartners, they have social emotional awareness. Like they can sense those things. And so listen to the advice, take the advice, but always be you. You're not going to be the teacher next door, down the hall, or across the district. And your students have you for a reason because you have something that only you can give them. So
I absolutely love that. And that couldn't be more true because we want each of our students to be uniquely whoever they are. So why wouldn't we do the same for ourselves? So
yeah.
I love that so much, Bailey. I am so glad we got a chance to chat today. I feel like we could be BFFs in real life for real.
Same.
So if anyone does want to be Bailey's real BFF on Instagram virtually, how can they find you?
My Instagram is friends with fourth graders. And just a quick side note, it was just like the cleverest thing I could come up with, like an F because of fourth grade. And this school year, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really am friends with fourth graders. Like it works out perfectly. And if I ever change grades, I'm not changing my Instagram because I'm friends with fourth graders for the rest of my life.
I love that so much. That is so fun. Well, thank you so much for being on here today, Bailey. It was seriously so much fun. If you guys ever need anything else, please just reach out to either of us. If not, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you later.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. Be sure to tune in to the next episode for more teaching tips to make an impact. Until next time.